welcome to Now We Know, where we revisit traumatic and delightful kids' popular culture of the 80s and 90s.
Yep, each episode we pick something impactful from our childhoods to look at through the jaded eyes of adulthood. I'm Kevin Wertheiser, and with me, as always, is Chris Tognati.
That's right, I am always here. Think of all the things all the other places I could be, but I'm right here. I'm right here and I'm locked in. And you know what we're talking about today?
What?
Is the third feature film iteration of what, at the time, I mean, this is the last of the movies they put out in these days, right?
Yes, this is the end of the trilogy.
The time has come when a student must question.
I know you don't believe in fighting, but this isn't exactly fighting, you know?
Not exactly ping pong either.
When a teacher must let go.
Miyagi always train you, but for tournament, cannot.
When a conspiracy is planned.
You said that if I beat this LaRusso kid in the All Valley tournament, that you give me 25% of your new dojo.
When a trap is set.
You know how to front sweep?
Not really. Do you know how to sweep?
Of course. Or like this. And step aside.
It's no joke.
I need your title. You don't enter, that affects my financial future, Daniel. Get it?
You think you can rely on that crane crap? Last time you weren't fighting this.
Mr. Miyagi loves you. He has faith in you.
This guy wants to break you, humiliate you, stomp you into the ground. Yes!
I'm sorry if you don't like it, but I got problems, and if you're not going to be part of the solution, don't give me a hard time about it.
Now, the man must make a choice, and the kid must become a man.
The end of the trilogy, very surprising to me, because we are doing Karate Kid 3, as you know, because you clicked on this episode. I was sure that Mr. Miyagi was killed in one of these.
No, he never gets the Obi-Wan, whatever treatment.
I kept waiting for him to be killed. I was like, oh, now he's fighting them at the dojo. Is he going to be killed? Or I thought he was going to be killed off camera or just drop dead. I thought that one of these involved Ralph Macchio having to deal with Mr. Miyagi's death and then go fight.
Nope.
And that never happens.
I'm not thinking
of Rocky. I'm not thinking of Rocky. It was a karate thing.
Maybe you're thinking of Beverly Hills Ninja again. Before we watch this,
does that happen? Is Mr. Miyagi in Beverly Hills Ninja?
I don't know. I haven't seen
Chris
it like
Farley?
you have. Chris asked me if Chris Farley was in this one. I said, "Are we thinking of Beverly Hills Ninja?" Turns out Chris Farley not in this one.
And what did I say? I said that's not a denial. Is he also in this?
He's not. I said,
right.
I guess we'll find out, and we did.
I know that now. Now we know. What we did not know at the time the Karate Kid 3 came out was that this, a mere, what year did this come out?
89.
I want to say 89. So a mere modest 30 years later, the Karate Kid empire would resurge.
Yeah.
It would become a juggernaut again. Yeah. It seems like that Cobra Kai series got pretty hot. People really liked that thing.
It's true.
And now there's a new movie coming soon.
Yes, comes out today.
Starring such actors as Ralph Macchio returning.
How'd they get him?
He's got so many other roles going.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a nice feeling when you're like, oh, I'm 60 now.
Yes.
And I get to, I'm still making hay off the thing from when I was a kid. Because once you get to that age, like, I think when Cobra Kai started, he was no younger than 52, Ralph Macchio, somewhere around there.
Okay.
At that point, you're like, okay, at a certain time in my career, I wanted to get away from this.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to establish that I could do other things.
Right.
But now we all know that wasn't true.
Yep.
We all know that I couldn't do other things, so now I am quite happy to have my thing back. Thank you very much.
Right. But you all loved me as the Karate Kid, right? Yes, we did. And you would still love me to reprise the role? Yes, you would.
As the Karate Man?
Oh my God, as Karate Man? Well, that's a treat, because I have not been busy. I think that's got to be delightful. That's, I think having that in your back pocket is like, if I had to come up with a metaphor, it's like having a bonsai tree on the edge of a cliff that you just know it's there. You can go get it and get $10,000 anytime you want, but you don't need to. You don't need to. It's not that point yet. When I was a kid, when I was a non-karate kid, I saw this movie. I think this was the first one I saw, and I saw this one the most by far, and so that is why I chose this one. It was at my brother Ian's friend Ian Kelly Thomas's house, Ian KT. And he had all the cool shit. He had, the Genesis. He had this movie on VHS.
Wow, a Sega Genesis.
It was pretty early to have one.
VHS of Karate Kid 3.
Yep.
Did they make a Karate Kid 3 Genesis game? There's your question.
I don't know. I don't think so. But yeah, I think justifiably, having rewatched this one now and not having watched this one in probably 30 plus years, I think it is reasonable that I would often get all of their plots confused. And I'd be like, is that the one where this thing happens? Is the bonsai tree? Is that in the Japan one? Or
is that the one? Is that the one where Major League Sicko Terry Silver saunters onto the scene?
Yeah.
They're like, well, we have to come up with a villain more deranged than John Kreese.
Yeah.
Mr. John Kreese. Yeah, he's on my TV. They have to come up with a villain more deranged than John Kreese, who is already incredibly deranged. Yeah. He's already like the Emperor Palpatine of Southern California, like strip mall martial arts dojos.
Yes. Yeah.
I think what always struck me, I was not a big Karate Kid, and I always felt like I was always very weirded out by these movies. And this came into sharp relief when I watched like the first season of Cobra Kai when that first came out. And I'm like, oh, the thing that was striking me weirdly is that, like, these movies very unironically are like, this is our martial arts kid movie, but they're also really trying to sell you that there are these people who run these dojos in, Encino or wherever.
Yeah.
In a strip mall. It's a shitty little dojo in a suburb, like the ones you see all around you growing up in the 80s. But these people are waging a deadly serious war for the soul of like good versus evil. Yeah. And like there's a discordance to that for me growing up in a growing up in a very affluent suburb, not being terribly affluent myself, but like you see these kids going to their karate lessons. We all know that John Kreese isn't in there cracking his whip. There are bad, draconian teachers certainly, but it's not like, it's not like the Jedi and the Sith are squaring off. Right. At the karate classes at the French school I went to.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, the worst thing that happened to me in karate class was that they took my mom's money and closed up shop. That was a Chuck Norris joint. I still blame him for this.
I took a karate class once and I got yelled at because I forgot to bow before going onto the mat. And then I was like, okay, well, I think we're done here.
I think it's time I bow out.
Yeah. I didn't generally have problems with authority when I was a kid, but that was like, no, we're done here.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. It's one thing to be like, okay, so here's what we do here. It's a different thing to yell about it. I don't think it's a yelling situation.
Yeah. Also, frankly, I don't live in a bowing culture, so it's going to take a little time.
Yeah.
Bowing is not something, frankly, bowing in that era of the United States was generally used as sort of an act of mockery or derision towards cultures in which people bow to show respect. So just give it a little time. Don't be coming out this hard. I don't know, this was my second time there or something.
Yeah. But yes, I did enjoy this movie quite a bit when I was a kid. I thought it was pretty cool, though it stressed me out a lot. It is a stressful movie. And then watched the originals. I remember renting them. I think I saw the first one a fair number of times, but the second one maybe only once. But I thought that was maybe the coolest one. So that might have been a better choice to revisit. But this was my Karate Kid for sure. And it sort of hits all the high notes. I was reading about it. Apparently the director originally wanted this one to be like they are, I think they're like going back in time mentally, Daniel-san and Mr. Miyagi, and back to like 16th century Japan. And then there's a girl who's the star of it. This was not met with acclaim from the producers, who basically wanted another Karate Kid movie.
Yeah.
And the director said, well, if you want me to do that, you're going to have to give me a lot more money. And they said, okay. And so they did, and so he did. it's there's a lot of parallels, I think, between the Rocky situation and these films. I can't imagine why. But yeah, let's dive in, shall we?
Yeah.
So yes, we have some new baddies. We start off with a montage of the first movie where you see the ending. Daniel-san wins, and then Kreese Sensei.
Kreese-san. He doesn't call himself that. He demands to be called Sensei.
Kreese Sensei, is like choking out his student in the parking lot.
He's choking out his star pupil, Johnny Lawrence, who is the original protagonist of the Cobra Kai series. I don't know if he stays as central in it. My
understanding is that the show just basically they take turns being the bad guy in each season, where it's just like, okay, we're out of ideas. Let's got all these same characters. Let's have what if Daniel were bad as the beginning? And then it's like, well, but what if actually Cobra Kai was bad again? But I haven't seen. I watched the first couple episodes. I thought it was totally great and very satisfying, and I never really wanted much more out of it. But but the concept sounds great. I'm glad people enjoyed it. But so he's choking out his student, and Mr. Miyagi shows up and tosses him once, and then just dodges out of the way so that Kreese Sensei punches through car windows. The first one I can see happening. You're not thinking. You're in a blind rage. You throw a punch. But
then he swivels around and he's now standing in front of another car window.
Yeah.
Are you going to let that... Are you going to throw another punch with your good hand? Wouldn't you at least punch with your already... this is a sunk cost hand now.
Yeah. I think that on some level he wanted to do it. It's that thing where it's like, oh... all I have to do is not knock over this glass and everything will be fine. And then, a quarter second later, you've forgotten about the glass and it's on the floor somehow. Yeah,
it's the Norm Macdonald's anecdote about when he was like a poker addict.
Yeah.
It's like, I lost $40,000 in 2 hours and I've got $2,000 left. It's like, I don't want the fucking $2,000. I'm going to blow this too before I leave.
Yeah. And so then we see a hitherto unseen scene where Kreese goes to his old buddy, Mr. Silver, and Silver, who's just like, he's like a Captain Planet villain. All he talks about is dumping toxic waste. He's like, used to be nuclear waste was the easiest thing to dump.
Yeah, no, this is what I was beginning to talk about with Kreese and got distracted, but they need to find a more deranged villain than someone who's, the last time you saw him, he was choking out a teenager from losing. Like, a more extreme vision of like, the Little League dad who's drunk at the game screaming at the umpire. It's like, no, he's physically abusing the kid in the parking lot.
Yeah.
So how are we going to outdo that? We've got, as you say, a Captain Planet villain. When he goes into his mansion, and it's this, it's, on top of everything else, it is a very, how would you characterize the interior layout of this place? It's very distressing.
It is distressing. I don't think that you could make a house that connected in this way. Each room is just the most opulent, bizarre version of itself. He's coming from a long line of 80s coked out businessmen villains. This is just the apex of that sort of thing, that sort of energy. It's like it's Donald Trump would think this was a bit much, each room here. He's got the deep tub, but not wide, that he's like doing his business from, picking up the phone, saying, well, get it done. Dump this stuff in Borneo. What do they know about, whatever, calcium nitrate?
Yeah. At one point, someone walks in and with like a phone or something, and they're like, "It's about your plutonium deal, sir."
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And he's got a little ponytail. His face I characterized as a rich man's Billy Zane.
Yeah, I thought he looked rich man's Billy. Billy Zane is much more handsome than this guy.
I don't agree. I think this guy's better looking. I think he's certainly a more believable actor. That's what I would say.
We have some disagreement. I mean, Billy Zane, I think by virtue of how he looks and the way he comes across, has been asked to do more broad performances. I bet
this is a pretty broad performance.
This is a pretty broad performance. This Terry Silver performance. I think No, I think Billy Zane's more handsome. Billy Zane is more like a golden age of Hollywood, like leading man face, which looks a little weird in the modern era. I will admit, but yeah, Terry Silver, he's a lunatic.
Yes.
He's the second he comes in, it's like they're very quickly bang, bang, bang. Okay, I served with John Kreese in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. That's our background. He saved my ass more times than I can remember. Mm-hmm. Do you think that this was a window of time where movies were more willing, certainly than they would be now, to be like, no, having Vietnam veteran be a core detail of your biography means you're evil? Like, is that part of what's happening here, or is it just a reality that so many people did serve in Vietnam together?
Yeah, because like,
I feel like the guilt around alleged mistreatment of Vietnam veterans in like American media does not tick up until sometime after this. Yeah. Like, that's not as big a thing in the late 80s.
Yeah, I think it's just a common thing that was true of a lot of people, and so then it's just like that's a reason. That's not a reason why somebody is bad, because like Magnum P.I. was a Vietnam veteran at the same time. I think it's
what dojo do you think Magnum P.I. would be repping? I don't think he's Miyagi. I think he's over there with the Cobra Kai.
I think that he would see that Cobra Kai is bad, but he would not be a Miyagi type either. I did just watch the Magnum P.I. episode.
He's post-partisan.
He in that episode, there's some military faction being built up in Hawaii that Higgins is infiltrating because he's secretly an MI6 agent. We learn at some point in the show, and the end of the episode is just Magnum and all his ex-Vietnam buddies just gunning everybody to death. It's very strange.
Wow.
It's not mostly. I remember the show being about mysteries. But yeah. Anyway, but I think that was viewed as heroic at the time. So
you think there should have been a Columbo episode like that where it just ends with Columbo with a Gatling gun? Like,
yes, absolutely. One more thing.
One more thing. I can't help but notice that there's only 6 ammo belts feeding into this gun, and I think I'm gonna need 7, 8, or 9 to finish off these roaches.
What, Lieutenant? You can't shoot me here. This is my winery.
I'm in my place of work.
So yes, they served together, saved his ass. The guy that plays Terry Silver is, as it turns out, 6 months younger than Daniel-san, Ralph Macchio. Ralph Macchio in this one is 26 years old.
Wow,
that's also 26.
He does. Well, I was going to say, man, he's simply too old to make this work anymore the way it used to, Ralph Macchio. Mm-hmm. I did not know he was 26. I think he looks like he could be 17.
Oh, absolutely.
So hats off to him for that.
And he sounds like it. His voice, like, it's like almost cracking and stuff. I don't know. I was like, well, got the right kid for the part.
Yeah. How old is the girl he's
the girl
wooing?
Is 17, which is why when I think the original script they said was more romantic, and then once they cast it, they're like, well, we got this teen witch girl, we gotta get her in here. They decided to have it be more that they were friends, and she kisses him on the cheek once. That is all.
I mean, they hammer the friend thing, but when she kisses him on the cheek, I thought that was supposed to signal the turn.
Yeah, no, she leaves town. She goes back home to her boyfriend. That's the end of the relationship.
Yeah, that's what she says.
She doesn't appear in the rest of the movie.
We all know she's coming back out to SoCal.
I don't know. So
once Daniel gets big, he's gonna fly her out.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if he were, they do address his Japanese love from the previous movie. But anyway, just real quick, Silver and Kreese know each other. Kreese is like, I suck. Everything's terrible. I can't afford the rent on the place that you got me, the dojo, anymore, because nobody wants to go to my dojo now that Daniel beat us up. But
now that we lost one there was one tournament where my top pupil finished second. It's all over.
It's all over. It's done. Maybe the choking thing was more of an issue than the losing the tournament. But, it's not like Miyagi is running a dojo that then it's like, oh, well, he's got all the students. So he is like, I can't afford the rent. I'm terrible. I suck. Miyagi before this says, Daniel is like, why didn't you kill him? because Miyagi holds up on just karate fingering him in the eyeballs, and he's like, for someone with no forgiveness in their heart, life is a greater punishment than death. And then you cut to him walking down, through the streets of the valley, Reseda somewhere, and it's like for everyone, life in LA is a greater punishment than death. And so anyway, so Kreese is like, I can't afford rent. Silver is like, I didn't care about rent. I bought that place for you. You just go chill out in Tahiti, and I'm gonna hatch a bizarrely Byzantine plot to get back at Daniel and Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, well, this is what I mean, is that the big turn they've made here is this guy doesn't even care about the martial arts, really. Mm-hmm. What he cares about is he's clearly, like, I don't know, psychosexually obsessed with John Kreese. He's like, you are my boy, I would die for you. Mm-hmm. I'm going to send you to Tahiti, and seemingly ply you with sex workers.
Yes. Yeah.
You're going to be getting sensual massages morning, noon, and night. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to hatch a plan that does not even like put Cobra Kai back on the map. It's not a plan to reassert you.
It is
as like the best.
He wants to open up a bunch of dojos and have it be under his name. That was his whole
But he
thing.
can do that anyways, because he's the rich chemical guy.
Yes.
What the plan is really about is I want to psychologically and physically torture Daniel LaRusso.
Yes.
That is what it is about. When he's laying it all out, he's like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to, like, ingratiate myself to him so that he thinks I'm his new master, and then I'm going to build him up only to have him torn down at the tournament. It's all, as you said, very Byzantine. None of it feels terribly necessary or worthwhile for the goal of reestablishing Cobra Kai. At one point, he says to his assistant, no business. For the next 2 months, my only job is revenge.
Yes, yeah. Must be nice.
Yeah, and he is, the whole thing about him running a chemical company, like, it's a bit more subtle than Toxic Avenger, but only so.
Yeah. Yeah, the name of the company, they say at the end, I don't think they say it until the tournament, and they're like, from Dynatox Industries.
Tox is in there, yeah.
Yeah, so we chose to put the word toxic in there to imply tox. Daniel and Miyagi have just come back from Okinawa, where he won a tournament in the heart of a girl, but his mom's not in town. As it turns out, she is out of town taking care of his uncle who has emphysema. She's like, it might be a while. Basically, I'm not going to be in this movie. And then it's like this total like laugh moment as he's just dying.
As he's coughing, yeah. She's like, a 70-year-old man who comes down with emphysema, that's no joke. It's like, yeah, it's no joke. That's not an illness that can be cured. This is what will kill him imminently.
And yet you make it a joke. He's like ringing a bell because he can't call for help because he's choking to death.
He's coughing. Yeah.
And she's just like, oh, well, haha. They're like, oh, yeah, ooh.
You're suggesting that Mr. Miyagi is making like New York cabbie vamp noises into the.
No, that's Daniel LaRusso.
Okay.
His energy. It's it's the engine that runs this whole thing. But I remembered it being stressful to me as a kid, and it still is now. Where he's just like, he really is a hothead and impetuous in a way that's like very irritating and a little grating at all times. He's just at 100% all the time. But
it's trying to be like, well, the fire of adolescence is lit in him now, and he's not as willing to listen. But it is like, you've been through this, Mr. Miyagi's whole thing. Mm-hmm. You know that he's like, I'm so confused. Why aren't you encouraging me to kill or be killed?
Yes,
it's like, that's not his thing. You can find guys who will tell you that as you do eventually.
Yeah.
But that's a dime a dozen opinion. You're with this guy because he's different.
Yeah. As with many of these sequels that did not need to exist, it makes it a very sad affair, the original movies, because it's like, well, he learned nothing. He went through all this, and he learned absolutely nothing, because the next time something comes up, he's like, but shouldn't I just beat him up at the tournament? Wouldn't I like to just win the tournament? So Mr. Miyagi, I don't know what's missing in his room. I missed that part, but he goes home, and his shit's all gone. Daniel is like, well, now that this is all over, whatever it was you were up to, wouldn't you like to open a bonsai store? It's like, oh, yeah, it was always my dream, but I can't do it. I don't have the money. And Daniel's like, I've got all this money in my pocket. Miyagi's like, it's for your college. And the amount that he has seemingly gets them a deposit and 2 months of a lease on a very wrecked storefront.
Dilapidated warehouse.
Yeah, it was a different time. College was a lot cheaper. Maybe he was just going to Valley College. But so Daniel goes to 21st Century and gets a lease on the place, or Century 21, pardon. Century 21, that image, that sign is like burned in my brain from this movie. And that was very strange seeing it again. I was like, oh yeah, I do think of this as being the company from this movie.
The lone people.
My life. Yeah.
They're the people who gave Mr. Miyagi that shack. God bless them, too.
Yeah, and Daniel's mom is like, what about that nice girl you met in the last movie? He's like, oh, she got a good job in Tokyo. I guess that's, she couldn't turn it down. That's how it goes. And that, too, is depressing, that it's like, oh, it's not love conquers all. It's just, oh, yeah, no, I went out with somebody for a while, and then circumstances were such that it was difficult to move from Japan.
He's
got a good job.
That's just a lie he told to his mom. He clearly got her pregnant and then fled the country.
I gotta go. Gotta go back to America. So now Mr. Miyagi is like, all right, let's do some more training. I'm gonna teach you the real shit. This is all what it's really about. It's this kata. This is the Miyagi kata. Once you got this down, then that's basically all I got to teach you. And they go and train by the shore, as they typically do. But there's a tight shot of them, and it's like the sea is in the background. And then it pulls out, and it's this epic helicopter shot, and they're like right on a cliff's edge. Like, this is not necessary for your training or your focus. I don't think this is good. But the shot was great. After complaining and Miyagi saying, you can't mortgage your future for me, then he's like, all right, look, I already got the lease on the place. I already gave him the money. And he's like, all right, well, we're partners then. He's
very, Miyagi is willing to put his foot down and not play ball when Daniel is doing impulsive things he shouldn't be doing, except in this case where he's like, all right, I guess I'll take your money.
Yeah. Well, I did actually want this. Yeah. Miyagi, in the first movie, Daniel-san, the wax on, wax off thing, is him fixing up all these old cars that Mr. Miyagi has. And at no point for, I don't know, the first 2/3 of the movie, is there any thought of selling one of these classic cars? They're like, we don't know what to do. How are we going to get money? Well, you've got 6 cars from the 50s and 40s in your backyard. I don't know. Do you need all 6?
Right. Stolen from the set of Happy Days.
Yes, surely. Across the street from the new place that they have bought/rented which is like corrugated aluminum on the outside. It looks utterly like shit. Daniel says that it's on the right side of the tracks, but it's clearly like the right next to the train tracks and perhaps the wrong side. It's an up-and-coming neighborhood. Anyway, across the street is a pottery store. So like, oh, we could get pots for the bonsais, and we can do some sort of like, whatever, mutually beneficial deal. Miyagi sends Daniel over there after this plan has already been discussed, and Daniel finds the teen witch from Teen Witch there, whose real name is Robin Lively. She is the half-sister of Blake Lively. 20 years older, but half-sister.
I didn't know that,
no.
Actually. Do you recognize her from her role in Twin Peaks?
Yes, now I do.
She is Lana Milford.
Yeah.
The woman who's so hot that you have sex with her, then you die.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. This is like, I feel like this is a very late 80s vision of like, you're a teenage boy. Isn't this the kind of girl you want to be with?
Yeah.
You happen upon her. She's very beautiful. She's also got a little bit of a down-to-earth tone, but she's still doing an artsy lady job where she's at this pottery thing. Obviously, this leads off Jim Cameron's Titanic. Old Rose is doing the pottery thing, but this was a real fascination of movies, I think, for a window of like 12 years.
Yeah.
It's like, here's a woman with her hands working the pottery as it spins on the spool, the wheel,
Sensual.
the pottery wheel.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a little, I don't think it's trying to be sexual in Titanic, but plenty of stuff is.
Sure.
But this is like this is sort of like the teenager version of the Ghostbusters 2 thing with the fancy lady job.
Yeah.
This is like this is the tactile artsy teen girl job.
Right. You know that she is of quality because she's doing this. She's throwing these pots.
Yeah, she's not just listening to Madonna and working as a process server.
Yes. She sounds so New Yorky. And she then later says, like, "Oh, hey, I'm from Columbus, Ohio."
Hey, the Big Apple, Columbus. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. Hey, a river caught on fire.
So Daniel is, is talking to her. He's got kind of a. I characterized it as the 80s equivalent, the closest we could come at that time to a Michael Cera in Arrested Development thing, where he's just
he's certainly
stumbling.
Dressed like it.
That too.
He's yeah.
So she is charmed by him and, says, "Oh, when would you," he's like, "Oh, I'll see you soon." And she's like, "When?" And he's like, well, you doing anything tonight?" And she's like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, yeah, tonight. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll be here. Okay, all right. What time? All right. Yeah. All right. 7. Great." She has a picture of her boyfriend and her rappelling down a cliff. That will come up later. And but the boyfriend's head is ripped off, and she's like, he cheated on me, fucking bastard, basically. And then when Daniel shows up for the date,
but she's still gonna go running back.
Yes, when he shows up, she's like, "Well, okay, here's the thing. I do have a boyfriend. That scene we shot earlier, we're not gonna reshoot that, but I am gonna say now that didn't actually count. It is true that I have a boyfriend."
Yeah.
And Daniel thinks that Miyagi has intentionally set him up with her. But, I don't know, we just probably saw that there was a girl there. Wouldn't you like to go talk to her?
Yeah. Miyagi doesn't seem like the type to me who's terribly concerned about if Daniel's getting any. I don't think that's the level he's operating at.
No, I mean, he wants him to be happy. And I do think he sees that he has a lot of excess energy that needs to be burned off as much as possible. So they set up the shop.
They're accosted by some intense, also sort of an intense psychopathic teen who wants Daniel to join the martial arts tournament because he has received the flyer inviting him with new stipulations that he only needs to compete in the championship round because he's the reigning champion, which means we don't have to devote that much of the movie to the tournament anymore. We don't have to film 3 different rounds. Nope, just the final round.
Yeah, all the bullshit where it's like, oh, is he going to get to the next one? We don't have to do that. We can skip all that. Leaving us a tight hour and 52-minute movie.
This movie could have been a little tighter, I would say.
Yes, could have had more karate if you're going to do all that. But yes, Silver has hired this guy, the bad boy of the valley, to
Michael Barnes, the Terminator of Kung Fu, of karate. The poster calls him the Terminator, I think.
Okay. Well, he shows up and Silver is like, all right, you fight for me, you beat up Daniel, and you will get 25% stake in all of these dojos that I'm opening. And he's like, that's a very generous offer, but I actually want 50%. And he's like, well, no. Like, all right, well, thanks anyway. The guy's like, all right, best I can do is, 35% and whatever. It's this whole thing. And it's like, this is unreasonable. He's offering you 25% of a business in order to compete in a martial arts championship, which you would happily do anyway.
Yeah, no. I mean, 25% of a chain of whatever, 18, 20 dojos, that's like, you are a multimillionaire overnight.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is win one tournament that you are clearly, like, going to compete in and try to win anyways because you're utterly deranged.
Yes.
Much as, the same dynamic that played out with John Kreese and Terry Silver here now must be replicated between this guy and Johnny Lawrence from the original, where he is like a jerk and bullies Daniel, but sort of not to the same extent. Like in the original, when he is ordered to sweep Daniel's leg and fight dirty to win, he ultimately acquiesces, but is unsure of it initially. He doesn't like the idea, and then he's like pushed to do it by Mr. John Kreese. In this case, this kid would kill him if he had the chance. If he could get away with killing him in the ring, he would do it.
Or out of the ring.
And they find a kid who's like, he has crazed eyes, 0.5% body fat. He's the Hitler Youth of this martial arts tournament, basically. The Ivan Drago, I guess, to use the Rocky thing.
That's correct.
That's how you're supposed to see him. The unstoppable force.
Yes. And all he wants is Daniel to compete in it. So you would assume that Daniel would compete in it, since he is the reigning champion. Miyagi has told him that he shouldn't. That if he chooses to, fine, but he's not going to train him because his karate is for defense, and you can use it to defend honor or defend your life. But if you just use it to win a trophy, then it's bullshit. It's like, kind of, I don't know. I kind of get where you're coming from with this. So Daniel's kind of pushing him on it, and then he says, you know what? Never mind. You're right. But he says, never mind, you're right. At this point, Silver has broken into their house because Daniel's staying with Miyagi because his mom's out of town, so it's convenient storytelling.
Yeah, because she's tending to a 70-year-old with emphysema, and that's no joke.
Waka waka.
Ding, look at him ring his bell. Look at him, he can't even get up.
So Silver's plan here is just to gather information on Daniel and Miyagi, mostly Miyagi, I guess, to see what makes them tick so that he can get in their heads and work his way into their family. But he just comes in when Daniel's already home, and then he's just looking through the scrapbook and whatnot, and sees that Miyagi fought in I guess World War II? ? And then stuff about Japanese internment, but then was there a Japanese contingent, or was it in Korean War? I don't know. He immediately knows what battalion he was with, in a way. He knows it from the scrapbook, but when he uses it on Miyagi, he says it oh, of course you were in that. Anyway, so he is about to be found when Miyagi comes home. We don't see where he goes. And Daniel says, you know what, you're right, I should just burn this application. Let's forget it. Let my confusion go up in smoke. And so he burns it and throws it in the fireplace, and they leave. And then you hear coughing from inside the chimney, and you see Silver's feet land on the paper. The only reason that they know that he's not going to compete is just that day,
he was
that
hiding
moment.
in the chimney that day, yeah.
Yeah. And it's efficient storytelling, but... So yes, now the bully has to come around and say, you got to compete in this tournament. My, financial livelihood depends on it. It's the kind of thing that if you had just met a boy and he was having the the shit beat out of him, getting tossed around, having his store destroyed, you might be like, well, maybe this guy's not so good. Maybe I don't hang out. I don't want to be a part of this whole scene that he's in.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it's in the first scene or second or maybe third that they kick her in the gut. The evil crazed guy does.
Yeah.
And that's sort of that's, kind of a deal, but not really a big deal. It's certainly not as big of a deal as when Daniel punches some hood in the nose later.
Well, nobody expects better. The reason Daniel punching the guy is seen as such a big thing is because the girl is like, what's wrong with you? Because she expects better of him. You see this kid walking down the street, no one's going to be like, oh, I can't believe he did that.
Yeah, he seems the type. Look at his face. Look at his crazed eyes.
Yeah.
So things continue escalating. When she turns him down at first, or says, I have something I have to tell you. Daniel says, what do you have? Poison oak? It cracked me up, but it also felt like, is this like a stand-in for, some STI joke? And then the bullies come in. Well, first she's like, oh, I brought some food from a restaurant nearby. They had extra or whatever. He's like, oh, what is it? And she's like, macaroni and cheese. And in the first movie, the girl gives him macaroni and cheese. And he's like, oh, macaroni and cheese, my favorite. And then in this one, he's like, "Oh, you know what I like," which I don't know. It's kind of charming, I guess, to wittingly be like, it's the same exact beat. We're doing the same thing. We all know we're making the same movie here. The girl brings him macaroni and cheese. He is excited for said cheese and mac. And then when what's happening when the bullies come in? That one of them says, like, he's I don't know, grabbing something from the floor in front of her, and the bully says, "Room for one more down there."
I didn't catch that. I remember later during the rock climbing incident, they imply that they're going to assault her.
Yes.
And that he's really into that idea, in what I would say is the most lurid and out-of-bounds line in the movie.
Yeah. There's 3 of them. There's the main bad guy and then his 2 hoodlum friends. One's like a buzzcut kid, and the buzzcut kid is the one that seems to be out for Elizabeth. So they trash the store, then they steal the bonsais from their house and leave the application hanging where the bonsais had been. So, Daniel's like, "I'm going to call the cops. This is evidence." But of course, the cops do nothing. We have also established that Mr. Miyagi has a rare, real bonsai tree. I don't know if this is true. All of my bonsai information is from this movie. But in this movie...
No, I was just going to say, I wouldn't take it as a given that this movie's on the level about anything.
Yeah. But they say, basically you can make any number of things into bonsais, but the real shit, those are worth mega bucks. And Miyagi has one that he brought from the old country, and he keeps it in this gulch, this like cliffside terror. It's called like Devil's Gulch. It's a big hole in the cliff that goes down into a roiling sea. And this is what he decided was the best place for the tree. So when all the bonsais are stolen, Daniel is like, "Oh, the only way we can get money back is if I go get this tree and sell it." And Elizabeth goes with him because she knows about rappelling, as evidenced in the photograph.
Jessica.
Oh, sorry. All right.
Jessica Andrews.
Oh, I thought it was Elizabeth Andrews.
No.
So they descend to go get the tree. She constantly is like, "Well, we shouldn't do this. He put this here because he doesn't want to sell it." And Daniel's like, "Well, but no, but he needs the money. This is his dream. He'll be happy I got it. He can't come all the way down here, basically, and we should just take it."
He obviously can. He can obviously physically do anything he wants to, if he actually wants to.
Yes.
He wouldn't in this case because he doesn't. This is what you're talking about. I don't get... you've been with this guy 2 movies. You don't know that he, if he wants you to do something, he'll tell you. He's not cagey about what he thinks you should be doing or what he wants.
Yeah.
You just need to listen to him and take what he says and does at face value, as opposed to being like, well, no. They're sort of treating him like the shopkeeper in Gremlins. And the kid's like, "Oh, I'll sell you the gremlin. He doesn't know,
Right.
But it's like, this isn't even that desperate a situation for him in the same way.
Yeah. And again, they have multiple cars. And also the shopkeeper in Gremlins, he's the kid's grandfather or something. In this, he's, Miyagi and Daniel are best friends. Like, that's how they refer to each other. And he's still just like, "No, I'm going to take this." And she's like, "Well, but, he says, 'Oh, it's like money in the bank, this thing.' And she's like, 'Okay, so we're robbing a bank.'" Like, all of her objections are totally correct, and there's really no reason for him to be this strident about his choices. And so they start rappelling, then they're slipping. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Rappelling was another thing, much like pottery, that was a brief obsession in popular culture. Watching this, I was like, shit, it's going to be so hard when I have to do that. When I'm older and I have to rappel down the side of a cliff. Will I be good at it? It looks cool when it's good, but I don't know. She shows him how to lock off so he can use both hands. He digs out the tree, and then she immediately slips. So he immediately tosses the tree and grabs her. They go all the way down to go get the tree out of the sea. And then, oh no, the ropes are being pulled back up because the bullies have followed them there somehow. And they're like, we'll leave you there to die if you don't sign this paper. And they throw the paper down, which is ridiculous because, like, you could fake his signature if this is what you're doing.
Yeah,
then later they're like,
it's some sort of like man of your word shit they're on here. Where it's like you have to sign this paper physically and accept that we've bullied you into doing it in your heart, and then you will show up. Yeah. This is when one of them is like, what we do to you isn't going to be half as bad as what we do to her. And then like the sidekick is like, yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah. So they drag him back up the cliff. Daniel signs it, and then when they're right at the top, the buzzcut kid is like, "All right, give me the tree." It's like, "What? No, be careful with it." He's like, "Look, I'll drop you if you don't." So it's like, this dynamic could go on like this forever.
Yeah.
So they give him the tree. The big bad guy is like, "Here, give me the tree. Like, you don't even know what your plan is with this." And then he like rips it in twain.
Yeah.
But they do bring them back up the hill the rest of the way. Basically, any time that Daniel shows up against this kid, he just beats the shit out of him, and it really feels like no contest. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel like the ending of the movie really satisfies the question of like, well, but could Daniel beat him up? It's like, no, this kid is bigger and stronger and better karate than he is.
Well, he's bigger and stronger, but he's not. He loses the karate contest against him. It is true that in the final clash between them, this kid is operating under strictures dictated by Terry Silver about how it's going to go down, that essentially force a winner-take-all overtime sudden death period in which if one thing goes wrong, Daniel can win. Yeah. This is why, if you can finish the Houston Rockets off in 5 games, don't wait until game 7, right? Get it done early. That's true. But he's in a business arrangement with this guy. He can't very well disregard his demands.
That's true. But it's clear he could have won the tournament. I don't want to jump too far ahead there to the very, very end, but he could have won the tournament. So now Terry Silver sees his moment to show up and become the new sensei to Daniel-san. He has his army of butlers and wait staff assemble a fleet of vehicles, each one more downbeaten than the last. So he has something to drive around the valley that doesn't look like $1 million. Yeah. And he chooses this blue truck that has no roof. And he shows up to say, while Daniel and Miyagi are training, to say, look, hey, I am actually also from the Cobra Kai school. We only just heard in Korea about what happened with Kreese. I came to, make amends, but I was too late. He died of a broken heart. And they're like, oh no, oh, that's too bad. That's not what we're about. We're going to restart the Cobra Kai thing, but it's not about that. We're not bad guys. And then, he just keeps showing up at convenient moments so that Daniel is like, it's telling Daniel that the big thing he needs to learn, once again, the most evil, unthinkable thing that Miyagi would never teach him is sweeping legs. It's not only bad when somebody's leg is injured, it's just bad to sweep a leg. I don't know. I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no expert on this subject. It is very funny. Miyagi has refused to train him. So now Daniel is getting advice from Terry Silver. He's getting training from Terry Silver. After a point, Terry Silver sends the psycho kid into Daniel's backyard to harass him and menace him, and then he swoops in as though the protective father figure. And then he's like, I can train you up if Miyagi won't. But then Daniel goes to Miyagi and he's like, look, you don't want to train me, that's fine. Do you know how to sweep? Can you at least teach me to sweep? He's not going to teach you that! This whole thing, the whole series is premised around the idea, regardless of whatever the reality is, which I can't speak to, that is a sinister, low-down thing to do. Why would Mr. Miyagi teach you how to do that? Why would he be like, well, I'll teach you this one thing so you can do this thing I'm uniformly against? This is just like, obviously teenagers can be obstinate, and sometimes you have to say no to things more than once. But this is late enough in the movie that it's really getting absurd. And then Miyagi comes out with a broom, and he's like, see, this is how you sweep. And Daniel... Jessica like laughs at this, and Daniel freaks out and storms off because he's like, "Don't make fun. That was too good a burn." Because he's excited, he thinks he's gonna do it, and then he comes out with the broom. He's like, "No, it was too obvious that I thought you were gonna do it, which is too embarrassing. I have to leave."
Yeah, his blow-ups in this are actually kind of good. I liked that, and I liked later when Miyagi comes to his door, and he's like, if you're not going to be part of the solution, at least, like, don't make fun of me. If we're going to be buddies, you can't be this sort of, older statesman that is ho-hoing at me at all times. I do need you to back me up on this stuff in a more direct way. Silver is like, all right, so I brought you a book on sweeping, but there's only so much a book can teach you. So why don't you sweep me? He's like, no, like, really sweep me. And then he topples over as though it was the hardest kick he's ever received. This moment, you're like, well, this guy's a foot taller than him, and he's got, 60 pounds on him, all muscle, plus that ponytail, which makes him look like a badass. And then watching it, I was like, but he is 6 months younger. And that's very strange. So he's like, well, if you want me to train you, come by. Daniel, of course, does. He puts on the Cobra Kai gi. As a kid, I couldn't believe he put on the Cobra Kai gi. And the guy has a setup of like pipes, inch thick pipes with boards, and he's like, "Yeah, this is the training dummy. You got to kick this thing until your foot breaks."
Because he's been told by Kreese, "I want you to make his knuckles bleed."
Yes,
as retribution for when Miyagi made his knuckles bleed because he kept punching through car windows.
Yeah.
Again, fool me once, shame on you.
Yeah. This is not, and it's not something Daniel did. And whatever, knuckles bleed. That's one of the least bad things to bleed. When I watched the first one as a kid, I thought that like his whole arms were all cut up. He's like, make his knuckles bleed. Like, oh, it's okay. So Daniel hurts his foot kicking the thing. The Silver is like, ow is not an acceptable ki in this dojo. He's at first being like super sweet, and then he starts getting hard ass with him. But he does do it in such a way that you kind of see where he's like guiding him into it. He's like, well, you are going to have to call me sir. This is part of this.
Yeah,
this
he's grooming him, basically. Yeah. He's grooming this man who's 6 months older than him, but looks 10 years younger.
Yeah, and has a squeaky voice. And then I also read that this guy, the guy that plays Terry Silver, was trained as an opera singer, and he like went on to like write shows like that show Grimm. Like Brothers Grimm.
Not familiar with it.
Well, it was one of those shows where it's like, oh, let's do a dark fairy tale thing. But he made that. He's like a total Renaissance man. Just I never noticed him before or since this movie. But and he turned down a bunch of martial arts roles after this when people were like, oh, he's like the next Jean-Claude Van Damme. And he's like, oh, I don't want to do that. More fool he. So Daniel goes home. Miyagi sees him limping. He's like, what happened to your foot? He's like, what? Oh, what? Which foot? What's wrong? Oh, maybe I hurt it in my sleep. I don't know. And Miyagi is hurt that Daniel is not confiding in him, but he still gives him a pot of hot water poured into a bowl, and then he puts new foot powder into the bowl, and it smells terrible. And Daniel's like, it smells like old foot powder. This heals him miraculously. It's the senzu bean of this. It's PEDs, frankly. Shouldn't be allowed this new foot powder. Though, of course, if Steph had it, I would support him.
It's not hamstring powder.
Yeah, it works on everything. It works on elbows.
Yeah. We don't need to think anymore about that. It was very sad. We can all agree that the Oklahoma City Thunder would have swept the Warriors. We don't have to think about it.
Do we? Certainly the Wolves would have gone down.
Yes.
So
they would be in the ground right now.
The other day, when I was at my sickest, my sister-in-law gave me a packet of like homeopathic woo-woo pills, and I was like, sure, I'll take whatever. I feel like shit. And I opened it up, and it stank to high heaven. I was shocked at how bad it stank, and I was like, this surely helps. If it's just a placebo, making it the stinkiest thing, it's like, okay, well, this is doing something.
This has to, it has to do something. Why else would it smell this bad?
If you give me a container of Tic Tacs, and it's like, oh, this tastes good going down and smells okay, I know that's not doing anything.
Yeah.
We should do A/B testing with sugar pills and just stink pills.
Stink pill. He goes out with Jessica and gets into a confrontation in a dance club. Is this a school dance he's at? What is this?
Yeah, it's a teen dance club, I guess. All ages. Yeah.
He goes there with Jessica, who he is not dating. This isn't a date. We're just two people going to a dance together.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a rock show. Because he's like, she's like, what are you learning at your new training? He's like, I gotta show you sometime. Come on, let's rock and roll. And then they go dance to the rock and roll.
And although they're just friends and he's not into her that way, he is protective enough of her that he commits a physical assault because somebody is speaking harassingly towards her. He punches this loser in the nose. He bops him right in the nose, breaking his nose, leaving a spray of blood all over Daniel's t-shirt. Mm-hmm. Jessica is furious. She's like, what the hell? Why did you do that? She storms off. But then who's there at the teen dance club? Why, it's Terry Silver. And he's like, that was great. That was exactly what you need. I saw how you clocked that guy. You were on the right track, kid.
Yeah, killer instinct.
This is the turn for Daniel where he goes back. He finds Jessica. He apologizes. She's packing her bag like, I got to get out of here and go see my boyfriend in Ohio. He cheated on me, but he didn't break anyone's nose. And then Daniel talks to Miyagi and is like, look, I fucked everything up. I feel like my life is spiraling out of control, and I don't know what to do. Miyagi's like, well, you can fix it all. You just have to stop acting like a prick. Stop doing all this stuff I tell you not to do. Yeah. You understand that the broad arc of your life, the point of your life is that I'm right about everything, right? So all these times you do things that you're not supposed to do because the mystical old Asian man in your life is telling you not to do them. Just stop doing all that and things will balance out.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know what to do. And it's like, well, there's a man advising you who has always steered you right. Would you maybe just do what he says just to hold, But also Miyagi, they're acting like the point of the movie is going to be that Daniel has to choose his own path because Miyagi keeps talking about how bonsai trees, they have the strong roots, and the roots for you are my karate that I have taught you, but how you grow, that's up to you, and it's up to the tree. And then any choice that Daniel makes, he's like, not like that. You're fucking
no. It is entirely Miyagi's choice how this plays out. Daniel is like, look, I gotta go tell Terry. You remember Terry Silver? He's the one who's been training me. I gotta go call it off. This isn't working for me. And Miyagi's like, do you want me to go with you? He's like, no, I can take care of it myself. Bye. So he goes to the dojo. He tells Terry, hey, I'm not gonna fight in the tournament. Sorry. I felt like telling you in person's the least, it's the least I owe you. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, you owe me far more than that, Daniel. And then before you know it, oh my God, Mike Barnes, the terrible Mike Barnes is here, as well as John Kreese. Suddenly there's three people here cornering Daniel LaRusso, getting ready to throttle him. Yeah. It's not clear to me, if they were to beat him within an inch of his life here, do they still care about the tournament? Does he have to do the tournament then? Or is, we're all going to have our way with you at some point?
Yeah.
One way or the other.
I think they know they could just beat the shit out of him. They don't. They just kind of toss him around a little bit because they're like, no, he still has to compete in the tournament. We still have to do this in public first.
Yeah. But then Miyagi shows up, and this is where I'm like, oh, this is where he's gonna be killed defending Daniel. He's gonna be ganged up on and killed by these three. Yeah, and that'll fuel Daniel's emotional journey. Not true. Partially because they do the thing they do in movies where they're like, no, we're all gonna fight you one-on-one. We're not gonna gang up. Doesn't seem like the Cobra Kai way to me.
Yeah. It's too embarrassing. He is very old looking.
He is very old. Kreese, when he walks in, is like, huh, Because he knows from experience that this old man can whoop him. He knows all too well. Mike goes first. The impetuosity of youth. He is quickly flipped and thrown into a light switch, thus turning the lights off.
Mm-hmm.
Then Kreese goes next, does he? And then Silver goes... Because Silver is supposedly the best of them.
Right.
You are the best of us, Terry. And Miyagi dispatches all of them and then leaves with Daniel, resolving, okay, I will train you for the tournament because now it's a matter of honor. But it's like, no, so you're basically saying you don't have a good enough reason to fight in the tournament until your bad decisions sort of contrive a situation where it feels like it's a matter of honor, and then I will train you. Yeah. I still feel like Miyagi should be like, no, you're not fighting in this tournament. You are walking away from all this. All this is too much.
Yeah.
Pat Morita, I believe, was... Let's see. How old was he when this came out? How old do you think he was? And I'll tell you how old he was.
I'll tell you how old I thought he was as a kid, which is 78. And I think watching it now, he's maybe 64.
57 years old.
I thought 64 was pushing it a little bit, but 57, well...
No, he's not yet 60.
Yeah.
He's only like, what is that, like 14 years off of you?
Right. He's 30 years older than Daniel, actually.
Yeah. This is, they could play brothers.
They could play brothers. He's almost as close in age to him as Robin Lively is to Blake Lively.
Who would you rather go on a dinner date with, Robin or Blake? Assuming that Blake, wants to cheat on Ryan Reynolds with you.
Right. Well, certainly that, then. Fuck Ryan Reynolds. It's not about it. It's not about the woman. I think Robin Lively,
you just want to be able to say that you just want to be able to say you cuckolded the Green Lantern. The man you think of as the canon Green Lantern.
That's right. No, it's more that Blake Lively would show up for the date and I'd be like, is that her? I can never remember what she looks like in between seeing her. Is that Blake Lively? Whereas Robin Lively, I would be like, oh shit, Teen Witch.
Yeah.
Top that.
I'm hot and you're not. But if you want to hang with me, I'll give it one shot. Top that.
Look how funky he is. I will never be hip.
When they're fighting, after Miyagi has already beaten up two very tough opponents, Terry Silver starts doing some Bruce Lee noises at him because they've made some racist comments about him earlier. He's going, whoa! And then after Miyagi tosses him into a mirror and it shatters and then paint dumps on the bad guy's head, he goes, whoa!
Yeah, and then the bees fall in his mouth and he's chewing bees at him. Yeah.
Yes, it was a big laugh moment for me as a kid. Another big moment was when the training dummy, such as it is, the collection of pipes and wood, that the second time that Daniel comes to train, Terry Silver has put Harrison Barnes. Matt Barnes.
Harrison Barnes. Michael
the traitor,
Barnes.
The villain.
Mike Barnes.
Mike Barnes' face on...
You want to get me training martial arts? Yeah, slap Harry B's face on there.
That's what I'm saying.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Why is his face on here? Might I remind you that he shot 18% on open three-pointers in the 2016 finals? Bam!
And yet,
he hits one of those, they win. Just one.
Yeah, but he shoots 75% on them now. Not even open. Contested threes. Anytime he's playing against the Warriors. Yeah. But yeah, the flipping around of the top plank that has his face on it is the symbol of this movie in my mind.
Yeah.
So at long last, Miyagi is like, all right, fine, I'll train you. They seem to be doing the same stuff they'd been doing, where it's just the
training montage, so to speak, is like 20 seconds. It's like, look, they're on the beach, and he's like moving on one foot and moving his hands around, and then he's ready. This is not training. This is a tune-up. This is like, you remember the stuff you did last time? Do that again. I'm just gonna... It's like the beginning of a first-person shooter where they're like, look up, look to the right to calibrate your D-pad. Yes. That's what he's doing here. He's like, look, I taught you my thing. There's not so much to it. So get in there, champ.
Yeah.
And we are very quickly, mercifully, the movie finally gets to its point, taking less time than it needs to. We're right into the tournament from here.
Yeah. Yep. And they're like, all right, obviously the big bad guy is winning everything. The big bad guy, Terry Silver, is sponsoring this. Dinah Talks is sponsoring this whole thing.
There's the MC is like, and now please welcome Dinah Talks CEO Terry Silver, the man responsible for this tournament. He strides out. He gives a little speech about how, the lesson of my life is when you get something, you give something back, and that's why I'm involved in this tournament. He is like almost foaming at the mouth, his eyes almost vibrating with like, I used this word earlier. I feel like he has a psychosexual urge to watch Ralph Macchio be physically and mentally dominated. This is a sick man. There's something, obviously that's true, but it feels like this is portraying something very dark in a way that is supposed to be, a little more frivolous.
Right. Yeah. No, it feels like he genuinely, even if he didn't personally have a major relationship with cocaine, he's known people that have and have gone very dark places with it, and he's drawing on that instead of it being like, well, you're supposed to be a little more cartoonish. He's like, no, I'm cartoonish the way that like Frank Booth is cartoonish.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it is like you could imagine movies like this in the 80s where you have a character like this who's a very broad, like, I am an evil man, but it's unusual to see that when it's like, I'm an evil man who wants to destroy a child.
Right. Yeah.
But also, like, what's an example? Like, the second Mighty Ducks movie, the Icelandic coach is like an evil guy who wants to destroy children. Yeah. But he more wants to destroy the opposing coach.
Right.
Kreese and Silver, they want to destroy Mr. Miyagi conceptually.
Yes.
They want to prove that his methods are inert, but they want to do this by physically and mentally destroying his star and only pupil.
Yeah, and only friend.
And only friend. But it's also like, this is what I'm getting at. These movies are so tonally weird that, like, as a kid, I always thought this is supposed to be more of a joke. Like a jokey kids inspirational action movie of this, like you referenced Beverly Hills Ninja. Like, something more like that.
Right.
As opposed... Yes, as opposed to this, where it's like, no, when it's between the lines, this is very serious. This is serious business. Terry Silver is actually seriously a grown man who wants Ralph Macchio to be killed in the ring or crippled for life. All the chips are in the middle of the table here. And it's just... And what this is about, again, is a chain of 10 dojos that will be constructed from, San Fernando up through the valley. Like, none of them in locations anyone wants to go to.
Right.
But they will be very conveniently located for Southern California suburban sprawl.
Yep.
And, like, it's such a... I don't know why, but it always struck me as so dissonant and weird, and I struggle even... to articulate, like, I can't think of another movie that gives me that feeling. This combination of, like, the world we are occupying is as chintzy as it gets, and yet the tone we're trying to strike is like Ralph Macchio is flying towards the Death Star and the TIE fighters are closing in.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's cool, but I understand that if it started bothering you, I don't see a way out of it bothering you, because everything you're saying is true.
Yeah, but he's, so during this battle, again, we only get to watch him fight one fight because Champ only has to go. This is quite a deal, isn't it? Imagine in the NBA playoffs, they're like, oh, the Celtics only show up for the finals now. There's no Eastern Conference playoffs.
I'm sorry, they're the champs. That's what they've earned from this.
Do you think you wish that had happened for the 2023 Warriors, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
That creates a scenario where one team that is not that good anymore could just luck their way into 5 straight championships.
That's what happens here.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Daniel's
he's not
power.
lucky. He's good. No, he starts off getting his ass kicked.
Yeah.
The first volley is kind of like a draw. Like there's a lot of dodging and missed shots, but Barnes, has been instructed by Terry Silver to, frankly, he's doing all the stuff that Terry told Daniel to do in the tournament. So he should be better prepared for this. Like, he hits him in the ribs to take his breath away. He's constantly cheap-shotting him above the shoulders on the face, like after the ref has broken it up. Yeah. And this is all stuff that Daniel was told to do, to embrace the dark side of the Force when Terry was training him. So I don't know why he's as, like, taken aback by it as he is. He's just shook because this guy is clearly a lunatic who is, like, bigger and stronger than him, and he's not sure he can get around on it.
Yeah, and he's not interested in just, like, scoring points. The whole thing is that he's Terry Silver is like, every time you score a point, then get 1 point deducted for doing something fucked up and cruel to him, and keep it 0-0, and then in sudden death, then just murderize him.
Because he's a sadist.
Yes. I remembered it being more that Daniel learned something from Terry Silver, but it's really like, no, everything that all that training you did with him, that was irrelevant. You'd think he'd be like, I did at least learn from all that pain, I can handle it better or something. It's very not that. He gets kicked in the nuts at one point. The buzz cut jerk comes out on the mat to be like, "Oh, I got you in the family jewels."
Yeah.
And they're like, "You're going to be disqualified if this nerd comes out again."
It's insane that he's not disqualified, because the ref, 2 separate occasions, like, one more thing and you're disqualified. One of these things is when they're being pulled apart, he just cold cocks him with a closed fist in the face. That should be the end of this.
Yeah.
You don't get, like, 2 of those.
Right.
But this is, there's some loophole in the rules. This thing where you can only lose a point if you have a point. He's found a loophole that encourages maximum brutality.
I do think that maybe part of it is that they're like, and, this guy is the sponsor of this tournament, so we do have to give him as much leeway as we can.
Yeah, imagine how you'd think if this guy, he's the head of Dynatox, he sponsored it, and you're watching this fight, he's trained one of the 2 kids, and he's just, like, salivating watching this brutality. This is something that local media start digging up some dirt on Terry Silver.
Yeah, he also shows up in he's no longer wearing his, like, t-shirt and jeans and, like, faded jacket. He's wearing an ascot and a suit to accompany said.
The round ends 0-0 as expected. Our dear boy Ralph has just gotten the tar beat out of him. Mm-hmm. He's doing badly. He's on the ground, and Mr. Miyagi is trying to talk him back up. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "I can't do it. I'm afraid of him. I can't do it." And Mr. Miyagi's like, "Look, it's okay to..." What does he say? It's okay to lose because you're not good enough.
You can lose to an opponent, but you cannot lose to fear.
And then he's sort of goaded back to his feet by the most unhinged diatribe from his opponent, where he's like, "You're scum! You're not shit! You fucking shitty old man, piece of shit! I'll fucking kill all of you, you motherfuckers!" He drops like 3 or 4 shits in here, which surely was their full allotment.
Yes, and tells him he sucks, which is a bigger deal back then.
And so he gets back up to his feet and then immediately starts doing, like, the prancing crane stuff. This is the only thing he does learn from Terry Silver. Terry Silver's like, "Why are you practicing this kata stuff? That's no good in a tournament." Mm-hmm. So what he learns is that, the thing he was dissuading me from doing is the thing he fears most.
Right.
When he starts doing this, everyone... all of Team Evil's like, "What?" Just because he's moving in a way that does not make intuitive sense from the perspective of combat efficiency.
Yeah.
The Barnes is like, looks like, I'm dizzy, I don't know what to do. He's instantly, like, terrified and confused in a way that does not really, like, make a ton of sense, but I admire from a storytelling perspective.
You kind of want it to be that Miyagi has said, that there's something spiritual to it or something, and so then he's, like, tapping into his ki. But it's I think they wouldn't want to say that in a kids movie. It's like, well, it can't be perceived as anti-Christian or something, so it has to be that it's just sort of vague. It's like, your strongest karate is still within you, let it out. But then what you see is doesn't indicate that he's doing something really special.
You've accused me yesterday, in fact. You were like, I made some reference, and you were like, yeah, it's been too long since you referenced either Dragon Ball or the NBA playoffs. So at risk of self-parody, I will reference Dragon Ball now. What this reminded me of is, what is it? I think it's either when he's fighting... No, he doesn't fight Dracula, man. This is original Dragon Ball. There's a fight with, like, I think it might be against a mummy, where, like, the mummy's getting ready to attack him, and he just sort of stands there and then puts his arms out like this, and the mummy's like, I don't know what to do. His stance is perfectly neutral.
No! My eyes deceive me! No one can guard themselves that well! No one!
There's no, like, angle at which, like, it makes sense what he's doing, and I think that's what's happening here, is he's like, I lack the understanding to tell what he is trying to do, and therefore I'm afraid, because it is a sudden death situation, so if I approach and he does something totally unexpected, he could beat me. Yeah. And that is ultimately what happens. Yeah. He like just he dodges and then tosses him and does a
quick strike,
does a downward punch. Yes. Yeah. And he wins. Quick out after this. No need to belabor the point. He has won. That was the point of all this.
Yeah, and Jessica has left town, so he doesn't get like his Adrian moment. And we just get a black screen and it says "The End" in white letters, as if to say, like, okay, I'm not making another one of these. It really felt like they're like, okay, we're all done now.
I did look it up. Jessica Andrews does return in Cobra Kai.
Yes, everyone returns in Cobra Kai. Terry Silver returns in Cobra Kai.
I know. I saw a picture of him. He looks like shit.
Oh, sad.
No, he just looks so. I feel like he looks older than John Kreese does now. Like he's just like a white-haired old man.
Okay,
Gentlemen, it seems we have a few things to discuss.
I like that it gets out pretty quickly. Kreese grabs a Cobra Kai t-shirt and flings it into the jeering crowd and is clearly furious.
Yeah.
And you know what? Don't play with your food. Again,
That's right.
You could have ended this any time, but you had to get cute.
Yeah. All you had to do was show up at the I mean, you didn't have to have Daniel involved in this. You could have beaten the shit out of him in private and then come back and been like, oh, sadly, Daniel died between the tournaments, and now Cobra Kai is ascendant again. We have 20 new
you know
dojos.
what? Cut off the head of the snake. Go to Mr. Miyagi's shop with a gun and shoot him in the head. Do you think he can catch a bullet? In this movie, maybe he could, but I'm doubtful.
Yeah. It was funny, the Miyagi stuff. I was like, is this going to feel problematic? Obviously, Pat Morita is, in fact, Japanese, or of Japanese descent, but, has no accent. And his accent does feel like a little bit like received from movies. But the biggest thing, the only one that bothered me, is that he always refers to himself in the third person. You want Miyagi to come with you? And it's like, in Japanese, there's plenty of I words. There's me, there's various stages of that, but you wouldn't just say your name. But yeah, I was surprised. It's not a great movie, and it's not super worthwhile. And if you've seen 1, and let alone 1 and 2, you certainly don't need part 3. But I get why I was into it. This movie was pretty good. I had a pretty good time. I thought like the big bad guy performance was good enough to sustain a lot of this other stuff, and Ralph Macchio just really brings it in his and Miyagi's dynamic. Though it is stressful to me because it's like you need to calm down and you need to give more. That's the whole movie, and I don't know. I was surprised how well it still worked for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was pretty good. I had a good time with it. I admire the maximalist implications they clearly took from trying to make the same movie as the first one. They're like, all right, we need a more intense kid in the ring, and we need a more intense John Kreese. And I think on both fronts they do a good job. No need for subtext in a movie like this.
No.
Let's just go all out, pull the lever all the way down on the derangement. And they did do that. I would say, as a critical note, this is the very definition of a 90-minute movie. This movie should not be pushing 2 hours.
No.
I will say to its credit, it didn't feel that long to me. But then, why is it so long?
Right, yeah.
I don't... It feels like it's taking too long to spring a pretty simple trap.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's that the trap is so straightforward. If you just did it in 90 minutes, it would feel like, well, what even just happened? You kind of have to have it be this, like, Count of Monte Cristo Byzantine affair in order for it to feel like something new at all. And then in the end, it's like, and he wins the karate tournament.
I will say, I did not realize until today, when I was looking at the Karate Kid Wikipedia page, I had completely forgotten about the existence of the next Karate Kid.
No, with Hilary Swank.
Yes, I did not know.
I don't think she's in this new one. I don't think they got her.
Yeah, I would guess not. But it has, it has all your favorites. It has Pat Morita.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that constitutes all your favorites. Apparently, current Hollywood it man Walton Goggins is in that as a child, presumably. How old is he? He's got to be in his 50s now. He must have been pretty young in that. So yeah, maybe we'll do the next Karate Kid someday.
Yeah, it's a straightforward formula, done pretty well. I think I commented on how the director was like, I don't want to do this. If you want me to do this same exact thing again, you're going to have to give me more money. And they're like, okay. I think they made the right call. He turned out a very good version of exactly the same thing, even though it was apparently critically reviled. Neither Siskel nor Ebert gave it a thumb in the upward direction.
Wow. That's tough. You think that's unfair, huh?
I think to me, it smacks of, it's not as bad as, but it is in the same direction as when Siskel gave Casino a thumbs down. He's like, it's not as good as Goodfellas, thumbs down. And it's like, you could argue that first point, the fact that you don't recommend this movie because there was another movie that is in a similar genre by the same director that is also phenomenal. Is not a good enough reason, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. We can sit here and we can agree that this movie was a pretty capable, rejuvenation of the original, the same basic premise.
Mm-hmm.
But here's something that is indisputable. Audiences did not feel the same way. The original Karate Kid... let's see here. The Karate Kid 3's budget was $12.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
It brought home $38.9 million.
Oh,
so that
not
is
as big as I thought.
No, it's not. Certainly not as compared to the original Karate Kid, bringing in $130.8 million on a budget of just $8 million.
Wow. Yeah.
So let me just do the math here. We did this for Police Academy, so I feel like I should now. If we were to adjust for inflation, that would put the original Karate Kid at just north of $400 million. That's a tidy return.
Yeah.
And there's not even any CG in it, although there surely would be nowadays.
Yeah, I bet that's true. And
they'd be like, can we augment Johnny Lawrence's moves with a little tasteful CG? Could it even be AI? Could we have the culmination be that he has to fight an AI with karate somehow?
Right. Well, you have questions for me?
I do indeed. So, how do you think it affected you watching The Karate Kid 3 as a kid yourself? Did you want to do more karate?
I did want to do more karate. It did make you feel conflicted about it, though, because basically the one time he lands a really good punch, everybody freaks out about it. And I do sort of think maybe that informed how my brother and I fought with each other, because we would fight pretty incessantly physically, but we would never break the rules. We would never get a deduction. We never hit each other in the face. But it felt like we wanted to kill each other. So I do think that maybe that this led to more safe fighting betwixt the two of us.
Well, that's positive.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the kid-friendliest bit of the Karate Kid 3 is?
Macaroni and cheese. You know what I like.
All right. Succinct. Would you show this to a child or future child? Or child in your charge?
I think they would have to be very into Karate Kids 1 and 2 before I got to the point where I would bother with this. But
nowadays, probably just someone who's into Cobra Kai. And you'd be like, did you know they made movies of this?
Yeah, that's true.
When would your mom have walked in?
I guess the implicit rape threat. I think that one seems bad. Or really just her getting kicked in the stomach. I don't think she would have approved of that violence against women. Even in this sort of movie, especially then, things go badly for Daniel. He doesn't beat them up and get one over on them. It's like, oh, they kick her in the gut and then he gets tossed around. If you walk in at that moment and you don't recognize Ralph Macchio, I think you might be like, I don't like this. I don't want this.
Yeah. What would you say this is about society at the time?
I think it's very much just a product of the 80s-dom. They were just like, we don't have new ideas for this one. So how about the coked out, toxic waste dumping Captain Planet villain? We just put him at the center of all this, and we turn it all up to 11. I think it was about how we were running out, diminishing returns on sequels, and yet turned out an okay one because they had the deeper karate within them. The director, Ralph Macchio, Pat Morita, people of this nature.
Yeah. Even these vapid cash-ins at the time, you watch them now and you're like, oh, but for an era of this kind of vapid cash-in.
Yes. 100%.
Where you get 80% of what you had before.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, that's about it for this episode. Our theme music is by Seth Milstein, a.k.a. No Rush. You can find him at norush85.bandcamp.com. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere you can. Subscribe on Patreon at patreon.com/nowweknow and get an episode every week combined with the normal episodes that we already give you. Talk to us on Instagram, Substack, YouTube, at NowWeKnowPod. We are at all of those places. If you're only listening, you're only getting half the show. We have every episode that we have been releasing in the last couple months up there now as video files. We have clips that you can see the things. When we're talking about stuff, you'll see the things we're talking about. And you can see our funny expressions and all of our extra little winks at the camera that we do. And that show, do you want to be a part of it? Well, call the Now We Know hotline at 415-349-3659 and leave a message.
So now we know. But what do we know?
Rose is displeased. What to do?
Brad is the executive.
Does your kind ever think about love, Chuck?
Well, I'll ask him, but I don't think he'll be very keen. He's already got one, you see.
If I were the boy in the purple socks, I'd hang myself.
The heart of a pig.
Muffins are so simple.
Where do Doc and Dopey sleep?
I'll say, there's something a little about a boy that's never played baseball.
Peckerhead.
A few years ago, nuclear was the preferred waste.
So now we know.
We know now.
Bye.
Bye.